Hello guys, it's Stephen here, and I've been joined once again by Mr. Sam Lee. We're here in the studios of Excess Manchester, if you're wondering where we are, what we're doing in this incredibly bright room, and the huge logo there behind us, because we're about to record a radio show on Excess Manchester. I'll link to that in the description below so you can listen to that podcast afterwards. But today, I thought I'd grab this guy here, because he's Mr. Manchester City in terms of transfers. I know you don't like this time of year, but it's good fun.
I don't like any time of year.
Especially January transfer window. But Sam, so yeah, basically what I talk about Man City's plans for 2019 in terms of transfers. So what I'm going to try and do is break it down in terms of position, essentially, like goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders and forwards. Some bits will be a little bit more, I guess, occupied than other bits. But in general, I'm going to try and do it that way to give it a bit of structure. So we're going to start immediately. Oh, and by the way, I'll link to Sam's channel as well in the description and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to start immediately with the goalkeepers. Now, I can't really see much movement on this front. And we did sign Zach Steffen. I mean, is that the plan for him to come in, as far as you're aware, or challenge potentially? Or
well, I had a bit of a swing and a miss with this one, because I thought I had Cheeky Bagheera sign's number in my phone, and I thought, when's the right moment? Oh, you can get the numbers, fine. It's whether they reply to you. That's where the humble brag comes in.
I'm always texting.
There's no brag attached to it. Well, the thing is, I did a piece on Pep, and he started setting a bit back, and that was good. So I was like, I wonder if I can ever message him about transfers. And I thought, Zach's definitely good, because if he replies, then great.
And he's an easy one to lead in, isn't he?
But if you go in and say, what's going on with De Jong, you think it's never going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
So I went, what's going on with Zach Steffen? It'd be good to know, does City plan for him to be in the first team, effectively replace Bravo, or will he be loaned out? And I heard absolutely nothing. And that was...
exclusive.
Yeah.
Cheeky silent on Steffen's future.
Exactly. And that was coming back from one of the away games in the Champions League. So yeah, absolutely nothing on that. But I guess he's going to be another loan out.
He's come back from an injury, and he's getting older.
Yeah, and he's going to have a year left on his contract. The thing with Bravo is he's had offers to go and opportunities to go, and he's not, before the injury, he wasn't entirely happy at City, but he was not entirely happy with Pep, not entirely happy with the playing opportunities, but on the whole, he was getting paid a lot of money. His family are really happy. His kids are learning English. They're all settled in, so he's happy enough. So I mean, it might be difficult enough to get rid of him. And then he got the injuries as well. But yeah, Zach Steffen, maybe they'll want to have a look at him, and maybe they'll go, because there's no rush to make a decision. They could get him in and go, actually, this guy's pretty good. Well, Muric, I guess Muric will play in the League Cup final, and if he plays really well, then there seems no real reason.
He might win the games, might he? Somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, from City's point of view, if with Foden kind of thing, Foden might want games elsewhere. Yeah. But if you're at City, that's the best place for Foden, because he's part of the right system and he's learning all the time. They might decide the same thing for Muric. So Steffen, it's 50-50 really. I think they're going to have a look at him, but
I don't think anyone else will come in worldly goalkeepers wise, really.
No, because it's a difficult one. Because who are you buying? You're not going to dislodge Edison, are you? And if you are, then City will have to go and spend a load of money. Look how much goalkeepers go for, even since Edison came, and that was a lot.
And there's probably more pressing situations in terms of positions, like defenders. Let's get onto that, because I've heard a lot of rumours, and we discussed this last time on my channel back in September, about Mendy's problems, and it's not really kind of eased up, if we're being honest. He's been a little bit quiet on social media, which is probably be a thing. And there's people saying maybe the question Walker's form at right back, but we'll start at the full backs first before we get into centre backs. There's probably going to be some plans for left back, isn't there, in the summer?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know about, maybe a month or so ago, that wasn't for sure, was it?
Yeah.
Fans were going, surely he wants a left back. And he does. And from what I've heard, Guardiola really wants one this month, but it's not going to happen probably, because I guess the board are just saying, well, we've got these targets, but if we want Chilwell, for example, now, it's going to be exactly the same as the Mahrez situation. Leicester will say we want this much, and in the summer they can get him for this much. So I would imagine that's the situation. But yeah, they do want a left back. But then you look at the other situations with, not so much the right back, because whether there's issues around Walker or not, and maybe they're not 100% convinced of him, but if they're not, it's like 90%. And what are you going to do? You're not going to do anything this summer.
Exactly.
And you've got Danilo, who he hasn't really had a good run because of, he was so in and out of the team in the first year, and this season he's been in.
It doesn't seem a priority, does it, at all, really, given the left back. And I guess in centre back as well, I would say he's more of an issue than right back, because we've got Kompany getting on. He was good against Liverpool, of course, but his time is winding down. And then Mendy, I don't know what his situation is, but he is essentially a backup these days.
Yeah.
And do you think there's any plans for a centre back? We were linked to De Ligt quite strongly at one point. You see anything on the future there?
Well, De Ligt, everything's been about De Jong, but they like De Ligt as well. They've got in terms of knowing the plans for the summer. I'm hoping, I don't know now, but hoping when we get there, I'll be able to know which position City want, Because last year, at the end of the season, there were so many Delict rumours and City going for it, and everyone was kind of assuming that was what was going to happen, and everyone was like maybe looking forward to signing the centre-back.
Yeah.
But then I was told that it was just going to be a defensive midfielder and a winger. And then it was like, we can forget about the centre-back stuff. But the Delict rumours were there. The links were there. They do like him, but just not for last summer, probably for this. The whole thing with Ajax, I think Guardiola's a bit annoyed, quite a bit with Ajax, I think, because City, a couple of months ago, were pretty confident it was going to happen. But I think that they leaked the PSG stuff just to kind of give everyone else a bit of a kick up the backside.
Sure.
And I think they're annoyed about that. And I think it's kind of dawning on me recently, because like this verbal agreement with Barca, as far as I'm concerned, this isn't just me seeing it in a newspaper. I've heard that's true.
Okay.
But then I've seen in newspapers, in France, and that Paris United on Twitter, they say he's got an agreement with PSG as well. And then obviously City was so confident that normally comes from them having an agreement. I don't know for a fact, but they were that confident. It's a fair guess. But now I'm kind of thinking, I don't think everyone's wrong. I think everyone's right, and I think he's got an agreement with everyone. But I just think if it's come from the Barca end, somebody has told the papers, he's agreed with us. The newspapers will go, he said yes to Barca, great. But maybe they haven't heard that he's also said yes to PSG.
Yeah.
And it's going to come. God knows what it's going to come down to. So it's obviously a complex situation, really, and we'll just have to see how it pans out, because I think a lot of clubs in Europe think they've got a good chance of signing him, and he can only go to one.
I think it's notable that conversation erred towards De Jong anyway, even talking about centre-backs. So we'll quickly touch on midfielders anyway. I mean, it's obvious, given the Jorginho stuff last year, that we're going to go for a midfielder. I mean, I don't think it's a pressing issue to go for an attacking midfielder as such, but there are some links with Aouar from Lyon, as you mentioned to me beforehand. And Ndombele seems to be the alternative to De Jong. Do you think there could be a double swoop for those two potentially?
Yeah, potentially, actually. I heard a few months ago, and wasn't sure if this was. I don't know if this is 100% true, but it kind of seemed reliable enough, and I've not written it because I wasn't able to confirm it. But for the purposes of this video, and
chucking
rumours around, I heard that City had made a bid for two players at the same club, and you think at the time it was kind of like, okay, maybe the two at Ajax, obviously, but it could easily be the two at Lyon.
We've done it before with the Monaco stuff as well. Bernardo, and obviously Mendy, and it's just a very Guardiola kind of thing to do. He seems to like that kind of. He likes players from a certain style. I think maybe it's because they play in a certain way and they obviously know each other's game and something to do with that. I mean, can you see of maybe signing potentially two midfielders? Because there is an argument such as well that Fernandinho isn't getting any younger, and we're going to need a replacement for him very soon. Never mind his actual backup as well.
Yeah. I mean, I could see if it was the two at Lyon maybe, because Guardiola said don't want to spend 100 million on one, but maybe they could get 100 million pounds for two. Be about 55 million.
That seems reasonable these
55
days.
55 million euros each for those two. I mean, Lyon drive a hard bargain normally, but I mean, I could see that. And with Ndombele, and look, we talked about Ndombele on about a year ago when the Fred stuff blew over. But I didn't realise at what level City were interested in him back then, because he was kind of unknown. But he's really exploded this year, so I could see that for him as like the Fernandinho replacement. But then with Aouar, you've kind of got the versatility there, which would mean he could play a bit further forward if needed. Yeah. Because I don't think City need to be signing a player who's further forward at the moment. They've offered Gundogan a new contract, and also you got Foden there. And what's it going to do for Foden if you can sign another player who's going to be ahead of him? Because David Silva's not going anywhere for another season, maybe even more.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I don't think they'll send that message up to Foden in particular. I think there's a trust element there as well, that they'll lose potentially to do that. I mean, let's move on to the forwards, because I mean, Aguero, he isn't getting any younger. He's got a bit of time left, and Gabriel Jesus, I think there's been some question marks about him, but I think he's shown that up recently, that he still does have that quality. And I still believe that Guardiola fancies him, so to speak. But can you see another main striker coming in anytime soon, or even a wide striker?
Not soon, I don't think, because
I mean,
if you look at the dynamic at the moment and how it's working, in terms of Mahrez isn't really getting much of a game at the moment, but he's getting enough game time. Maybe not so much for him, but enough to give Sterling a rest, to give Sane a rest.
Of course.
And also, it's happened again with Mendy being injured, because when Mendy plays, Sane doesn't, and also you can play Jesus and Aguero. So if Mendy starts playing again, then maybe you got Sane on the bench again. And that dynamic at the moment in terms of numbers is working. And you can't see Sterling, Sane, Mahrez, Aguero or Jesus leaving in the summer.
No.
And I'm not sure they need an extra body because that might be too much. I mean, some people argue this already is too much. I don't agree with that because you need to be able to rotate and give everyone rest, and injuries happen. But I do think one more would be almost unnecessary. And given City want to spend, if they were to get Jong 70 million, 80 million on him, and then a left back,
50, 60
I mean, we're
million.
guessing 50, 60. Yeah. That's just this seems to be the price that City are going for at the minute. So another forward this summer, like a big name, big stature one, it seems a bit unnecessary.
Dybala was linked. Is that like just talk?
But it's such a classic Italian media story. Like whenever there's
are you suggesting they're a bit prone to exaggeration, Sam?
Well, I think it's just. I think it's very agent driven, and the agents will just say, "Oh yeah, City want him because City are rich. Oh, PSG want him, United want him," and it's always the same. And yeah,
every club in the world,
of course, everyone's going to know about Dybala, but I mean, he's going to cost a lot of money, and that would probably be if City had have got Jorginho last summer, they might have been at the stage this summer where they could spend 150 million on one player. But that didn't happen.
They're not,
So I don't think that's going to be able to happen. Maybe again, if they get their business right now, and it gets to next summer, where they've still got a lot of, if they were to get 2 midfielders or even one, enough bodies in midfield. Foden's a year older, enough defenders. Maybe if they get the left back as well, goalkeeper's presumably fine, or at least you wouldn't need to spend too much as long as Ederson's still.
Yeah.
So then you can just spend the budget on a forward. So maybe, and that's maybe where Dybala would come into it, because I know it hasn't happened, but City have looked at Mbappe seriously. They made a lot of bids to try and get him out of Monaco on 2 separate occasions, and they were kind of sniffing around at PSG this summer. And they were looking at Hazard as well last year just to see how his contract situation went. And I wonder if that would come back. Because of obviously his contract situation, he does seem to want to go to Madrid.
Yeah,
but again, it doesn't. It doesn't stop the fact that City were kind of sniffing around these big name targets. So maybe that would be where Dybala would fit in. But I'd be surprised if it were to happen this soon. And also, we'd have to see that if there's stories in the Italian media already, maybe his contract is up for renewal. And if that drags on from the year, 18 months, then maybe there'll be an opportunity for that.
That seems likely for me. 18 months from now, when City are starting to look at where Aguero is potentially in terms of his career and so on, that seems the point where I think they maybe would assess there. So I think it's fair to say that in general, it's going to be a left back and midfielder largely prioritised this summer. But anyway, guys, that's just a quick video with myself and Sam talking about the transfers. Let us know in the comments below who you want to see at Manchester City come in the summer, and what do you make of all these rumours? There's just too many to follow at the moment. Go and check out the Excess Manchester podcast that we've just recorded. It'll be on here somewhere. I'll see you soon.